Viewfinder is, for me, hands down the best feature of the Insta360 cameras, and I've been using it quite a bit to edit the videos that I've been making on my brand new Insta360 One X2 camera. However, to understand what Viewfinder is and how it works, you first have to have a little bit of an idea of how you edit 360 videos. So I'm going to show you that first, and then after that I will demonstrate Viewfinder. One thing to note is that editing 360 video is a little bit complicated. Insta360, for example, has several different editing programs that you can use depending on the device that you're using. There is an Insta360 editing app for smartphones. So there's an app for Android phones, for iPhones, on iPads, and Android tablets. So there is an app for mobile devices, and there's another more full-featured program called Insta360 Studio that is available for laptops and desktops. And you can also edit these videos with like professional full-featured programs such as Premiere Pro and DaVinci Resolve, but then you have to get some special plugins from the Insta360 website, download those, install these plugins into Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve, and then you can use those programs to edit Insta360 videos. So you've got a lot of choices that you can make for how to edit these videos. However, Viewfinder, this feature that I'm so excited about, is only available for mobile devices. You can use a Viewfinder on your smartphone or on your tablet, but you can't use it on any programs on a laptop or a desktop computer, and that is for pretty obvious reasons when you see how it works. This is the main screen for the Android smartphone app for Insta360. When you first launch the program, this is what you see, and it's fairly straightforward. Up at the top, you can look at some tutorials, some activities, and different things here. Down at the bottom, I think this is the Explore screen. That's what we're on right now. This big yellow button in the middle, that's how you connect your phone to your camera to transfer the video files from the camera to your phone. Stories is an interesting feature, but we're not going to get into that. These are all the settings. And if you want to look at the videos that are on your phone or on your camera, you click on the album button. So let's do that now. And here you can select what videos you want to see. Right now I have it set to all, but you can choose local, which means all the videos that are on your phone. You can, if your camera is connected, you can select camera, and this will show you all the videos that are currently, stored in memory on your camera. And then of course we have all, which will show you both. So I have it set to all right now. And these are all of the videos that I currently have on my phone. And right away, when you look at this screen, you can see one of the issues with a 360 camera in general, and maybe with the Insta360 Android app, is that the thumbnails for the videos don't give you a lot of clear information about what the video clip contains. There's just something about 360 video that leads to the thumbnails all looking exactly the same. Plus, you notice you don't see any of the file names, and that, kind of makes sense because the file names for these are very long and complex. It's just a long series of numbers that don't really mean anything. And in fact, for every video, there are 3 files. So this is the video itself, but this video, to be produced, you have to combine 2 video files and 1 data file. So it gets a little bit complicated in terms of file management, thumbnails, trying to figure out, what you're looking at. And the video that I'm going to be working with for this little demonstration is down here at the bottom. This video clip is the one I shot when I climbed up a ladder at a local waterfall. And all of these videos down here at the bottom were shot at this waterfall park. And if you look at these green ones down at the bottom with all the trees, you can see how similar they are. They all look exactly the same. And it's really difficult to figure out which video is which and which one you want to work on. One of the best clues is, just your memory. You can kind of remember what order you shot the videos in. I know that this one down here at the bottom right, I shot that in the parking lot. So I know that's not the one I want. And I can look at the duration of the video clip. And I know that the clip I want was quite short, so it can't be this one. This one is too short. And you just sort of guess. And I just know from experience that this one right here, 1 minute and 21 seconds long, that is the video of me climbing up the ladder. So I'm going to open up this video, and I want to show you what 360 video looks like in the Insta360 Android app, and then how you would normally edit one of these videos without Viewfinder. So this isn't Viewfinder yet. This is the normal method. And then once I show you the normal method, then I will show you Viewfinder, and I think you'll understand, what an amazing feature of Viewfinder is. And I tend to use Viewfinder most of the time, even if it does end up with you looking a little goofy. But that will make more sense to you later. Okay, so let's click on this to open it. The video starts to play automatically when you open it in this app. And even though the thumbnail was circular, and this is a 360 video, it shows you in a regular flat screen. And down here, you can choose your aspect ratio. I have it set to 16:9 for YouTube, but you can also change it to 1:1, which I guess is for Instagram. 9:16 can also be used in Instagram and TikTok, places like that. And it has a widescreen cinematic 2.35:1. So you can change the overall aspect ratio with this button. Let's go back to 16:9 for YouTube. And the interesting thing, of course, and the key thing about 360 video is that you can move around inside the video. So here, I would normally use an S Pen to do this. I'm doing this on a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and I use the S Pen for all of this, but I have a mouse attached right now, just so you can see the mouse pointer and you can see what I'm doing. But I can click with the mouse and move around in 360 degrees inside this video. So the camera shot, straight up into the sky. It shot straight down along the ladders and the stairways that I'd climbed. It shoots, towards the left, to the right, in any direction you want. You can move this view around. And that's sort of the key, of course, to a 360 video. So I can look up at myself there. I can do all these interesting things, get all these different angles. But when you're editing a 360 video, you have to tell the program at every point what to do. Like with a normal camera, with a GoPro, all of this is done when you're filming. You point the camera at what you want to take video of, and that makes perfect sense. However, in 360 video, you don't do that. You film everything around you in 360 degrees, and then in editing, you decide where the camera will be pointing for the final exported video. So the first step, of course, is to figure out where you want the video to start. So here is the timeline down at the bottom. There's the time indicator. I'm at 00. And to play the video for Insta360, you just click on the screen. There is no play, pause, rewind, fast forward buttons. It's a very simple and very basic program. And I think in the future, they will make this a lot more sophisticated, I think. And there's actually one other editor inside the Insta360 app. It has two editors. It has this one, a very simple one, which can only edit one clip at a time. And then there's a more sophisticated one that you can use to combine several clips. But I'm not very familiar with that program, and I haven't started using it as yet. So I'm doing this demonstration in the very basic model. So here we are at the very beginning of the video, and I know I don't want to start here. So let's start playing. Right there, I lowered the camera way down below me, and then I remember that I lifted the camera in a sweeping arc up to the top before I started climbing the ladder. So I know from just my memory that this is where I want the video to start. So we have to trim the video so that it starts at this point. And this tool is also very primitive in Insta360, in the Android app. I'm not very happy with it at all, and I certainly hope it gets a lot better. But we have our cursor sitting here, and or our playhead, I guess is what you would call this. The playhead is right here at 4 seconds. You click on the trim button, and it changes to this view, which I don't like. And in theory, you can use trim or a jump cut. And you're supposed to be able to click on jump cut, and then you get a pair of scissors. And with the scissors, you can cut sections of the video out like a normal video editing program. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. When I click on jump cut, I don't get anything. I don't get scissors. I don't get trim tools. Nothing happens. So it's either a glitch in the system or this tool just doesn't even exist yet. So for now, I'm stuck with trim. And what I have to do is click on this bar, pull it to the right, and make a judgment call. Right there is 4 seconds. I can see the camera starting to move upward. So that's where I want the video to start. I release. And if I'm happy with that, I click on this check mark. And now we have that as the beginning of the video. I'll click on it to show you. You can see the camera raises up into the air. But right there, you notice I've disappeared out of the frame. I'm no longer visible. So I want to change that. What I want to do is change the point of view of the camera so that it's angled differently and has me in the frame. And normally you do that with something called keyframes. This plus sign here is how you insert a keyframe. And here at the beginning of the video as well, this is not the view that I want. I want a different view at the beginning of the video. So what you have to do is every time you want the camera perspective to change in some fashion, you insert a keyframe. So I'm going to insert a keyframe right at the very beginning just by hitting the plus sign. And now I get some new tools here. And now what I do is change the view. So I'm telling Insta360 app, this is where I want the camera to be pointing when the video starts. You can also change the frame. So if I click on frame, I can go, it's currently in ultra wide. I can go to wide. Then I can go to linear, which is kind of the same as wide, except it removes the distortion. So it's the same basic field of view, but it's taken the curves out. And then I can also go to narrow, which is very, very tight. And then you lose a lot of the resolution. You can see it gets much more fuzzy at the narrow. And you even have Tiny Planet, which is the ultimate circular 360-degree view. So what I want for the beginning is ultra wide. It's quite dramatic, looking up at me. So I've selected ultra wide and I've selected this angle. And now that I've chosen all of my settings for this keyframe, I click on the update keyframe button and that locks it into position. So now this is where, and you can see the update keyframe has now been grayed out, and that tells me that this keyframe I've updated its settings. So now let's start play. And here, as I pointed out before, I'm no longer in view, and I don't like that. So I want to change this perspective. And when you use keyframes, it's a bit like an art form. It's not a science. You really have to learn how these work and develop your own preferences in your own system. But just keeping things simple, I'm going to insert a keyframe right here at 3 seconds. And now I'm going to change the perspective of the camera so that it's looking down at me. And once I'm happy with that view, I click Update Keyframe. And now the camera view is going to move from this perspective to this perspective over 3 seconds. So let's go back to the beginning and I'll show you how that looks. Right there. So as you see, I'm now still in frame. And I may not be completely happy with that because I'm very, close to the edge of the frame. So I might want to adjust that a little bit just to make this a bit, I can change it to here. And anytime you make a change in the view, now the update keyframe button becomes white again. So maybe I want to make my perspective a little bit different, update it, and then you see how that looks. Yeah, I like that a lot better. So now let's let the video keep playing and see what happens next. Right here, I think I'd like to be still in the frame. So I'm going to adjust a keyframe again, insert a keyframe, move me back into frame, update it. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. And now if I remember what I did here, I bring the camera down and then I start my climb up the ladder. So let's just let the video play. And I know that right here, I want the camera to be looking up the ladder. That's the view that I want. So I insert another keyframe, change the view within the 360. So it's looking upward. Try to get it centered and straight. I'm not used to doing this with a mouse. I'm more used to the S Pen. So this might be, this is a kind of an acceptable view right there, looking straight up the ladder. And now we click on Update Keyframe, go back, and yeah, let's all the way from the beginning. Let's see how that looks. Camera goes up, I bring it down into the ladder, and now we're looking up. And we start climbing, which is more or less what I wanted, but you can see here that the center has sort of drifted out of the center and it's a bit on an angle now. So I want to adjust for that. I'm going to insert another keyframe, straighten it out a little bit. Bring this down so it's back in the center and update that. Play that. Yeah, that looks better. So now we climb up the ladder for a little while. I'm going to keep this view. And right at this point, I want to change the perspective so that the camera is looking down at me. And one interesting technique, by the way, or one way to think about keyframes is to almost always insert two of them together, because your first keyframe indicates that you want it to stay in this perspective. So I'll put one in here at 18 seconds, and I have one back here at 13. So it basically says from here to here, keep this perspective. So I don't want any changes from this point to that point. And then when we get here, at this point, I want the new perspective to take effect. So I put in a keyframe, and again with the mouse, I'm a little bit out of my depth how to manipulate this. but I turn it around so it's looking back at me climbing up the ladder, hit update keyframe, and then from this point, from this keyframe to this one, the camera will spin and change direction. And that looks like that's going to take about 2 seconds to do. And that may be too fast or too slow. You have to make your own decision and make a judgment call. So let's see how that looks. Climbing up the ladder. Now we zoom down to there. Yeah, that was fine. So just watch me climbing up for a little while. Seems to be a little bit on an angle, so I think I'm going to adjust that, just sort of straighten it out a little bit. I think I am nicely in the center. Right there. No, I'm going to change the angle again. Right there. Update keyframe. Okay, so now we have that. Me climbing up the ladder. And as I mentioned, the other thing you can do is change the framing, and that can be a very interesting effect. So let's go beyond this keyframe a little bit to here. And at this point, let's change the framing to something tighter. Let's go into linear, or maybe even narrow. Yeah, just to make it extreme, let's go all the way to narrow. So I'm telling the program, this is the point of view I want at 32 seconds. Update keyframe. And now you'll see that the camera is going to zoom in on me once it reaches this keyframe. Zooming, zooming. There. So now we've got a tighter view. And I know this is I'm going to reach the top of the ladder pretty soon. So I want to zoom back out again. At this point, I want to be back in ultra wide for a dramatic look. Update keyframes. And at some point, I should be reaching the top of the ladder. And then we have to do something else. And here I'm reaching the top. And an interesting thing is, to this point, I've been pausing the video and then inserting the keyframe. But you can also let the video run and just keep clicking on the keyframe button and dropping them in place as you see places where you want to change the perspective, and then you can go back and put in your edits. And that's what I did there. And here I know I'm going to be reaching the top of the ladder, so I want my orientation to kind of flatten out a bit. And it's going to be a gradual movement, so we'll put in a keyframe there. You can see I've gone out of frame, so we're going to put in another keyframe there, raise it up a bit, update it, let it continue. One more maybe, just to flatten it out. Oh no, that didn't work, did it? I've gone too far. So go back to this one, raise it, lower it a little bit. See how that. Let's see how this works how this looks as I reach the top of the ladder. That's nice. I'm still in frame. So here I remember that I spun the camera around all the way in a 180-degree arc to go all the way back to the ladder. So what I want to do is follow me as I do that. So I'm going to insert a keyframe here and kind of put me in the middle of the frame. Update that, let it go. Here again, the camera is still swinging around, so I have to insert another keyframe if I want this perspective. Put it right here. Another one looking back at me a little bit. Update. Right here I say, there's the view down the ladder. So I know that's the next view I want to show to whoever's watching the video. So here, another keyframe, and then I change the view so that we're looking straight down the ladder again. Update the keyframe. Again, it's moving off center, so let's bring that back. Get it straight. Something like that. Set that. And there we are. That's pretty much the end of the video. I can trim off this last little bit. You can see I'm moving the camera erratically, and it's getting a bit fuzzy. So we probably want the video to end somewhere just before that point. So again, we hit the trim button, and this is at 1:15. I want the clip to end. And then I drag this back until I reach 1:15. Hit the check mark. And there, well, that's a little bit off. You can insert a keyframe at the very end to select your view there. And I want this to be nicely aligned, nice and straight. There we go, update. So, fully edited. Let's go all the way back to the beginning and let this play. Made it to the top. Again, I have no idea how that looks from the point of view of a 360 camera. And there's the point of view going down. And there you have it. That is the magic of 360 video and doing the editing with keyframes. And I'm certain if there are any experts out there in 360 editing and setting keyframes, they'd look at what I just did and laugh their heads off, because I just started doing this, like a couple of days ago. I have no experience with doing this, and I'm just doing the most basic edits you can think of. And I'm sure there's like much better ways of doing all of these things. But yeah, that's the basic idea. And one thing about keyframes that I've learned, well, a couple of things. One thing is that you have to set a lot of them, particularly if you are not moving in a straight line and you're not moving the camera in a straight line. If you have a lot of curves in your movement and a lot of curves in the camera movement, then you're setting multiple keyframes because you have to track throughout the whole sweep of the curve. You have to keep adjusting the point of view over and over again. If you're moving in a straight line, it's much easier. And I think that's one of the rules of thumb for 360 video, that you should try to move in a straight line, try to move the camera in a straight line as much as possible. And the other thing I've learned is that if you go back and review what you've done and you're not happy with it, making changes can be complicated. If I start messing around with these keyframes, moving them to a different location, changing the settings, deleting one of them, inserting new ones, you get all kinds of weird, random, unexpected effects, which makes keyframing quite challenging. And as I said, it's a bit of an art form. And so that is editing with keyframes. And now I will show you the very different approach of getting the exact same effect, but doing it with Viewfinder. Okay, now I'm going to show you how you can do the exact same thing using Viewfinder. So I'm going to use Viewfinder to edit this exact same video that I just did with keyframes. And one big problem with the Insta360 Android app is that there's no way to save what I've done. I don't understand this at all. I keep looking for a way to save this as a video project, but I can't find it. It makes sense to me that it must exist, but I can't track it down anywhere. So basically, I've done all of this editing work. As you can see, all these keyframes that I've inserted, all of this work has been added to the original video. And if I make any changes to this edit, I destroy my original edit. What I want to do is take this keyframe edit and save it as a separate project, and then start a brand new project. But as far as I can make out, you can't do that using this basic editor. So what I have to do now basically is wipe out all of my keyframes. So you go over on the menu here somewhere, where it should be over here on the right, and I should find something called clear or reset. There it is there. So reset edits. So basically I have to clear all the work that I've done, and then I confirm it, clear all editorial changes, and restore to default. I don't really want to do this. I want to save my editorial changes and start a new project, but as far as I can make out, you can't do that. So I confirm. So now all that keyframing is gone. All that work is gone, and we start all over from the beginning using the magical Viewfinder. And in order to get Viewfinder, it's actually hidden inside a keyframe. So what you do is you go to the beginning of your video, right at 00, or wherever you want the Viewfinder edit to begin. It makes the most sense to start at the very beginning. Insert a keyframe, and now you see a couple of other options. You've got frame, and right beside it is Viewfinder. And that's what we're going to use right now. And when you click on Viewfinder, you flick into this window. And what you're not going to be able to see me doing this right now, but I'm going to pick up my phone. And now I'm holding my phone in my hand. And as you can see, as I move around the phone, the point of view inside the video is changing. So I'm not doing this with a mouse. I'm not doing it with the S Pen. I'm not doing it with a trackpad. I'm actually standing up in the middle of my guest house room, and I'm holding the phone in my hand. And right now I'm spinning around in a circle in order to get that effect. And now if I want to look up, I literally hold the phone up in the air above my head and look above me. And if I want to look down, I move the phone all the way down so that I'm looking down. And you'll notice that at the bottom of the screen, there is a red button. And in order to start a Viewfinder edit, you press on that red button, hold it down, and the video will start to play. And while the video plays, you do this with your phone. You can actually change the perspective while the video is playing, and the program automatically records all of those perspective changes. Not only that, if you move the red button to the left or to the right, you can zoom in. And to begin your video, you can do that by pinching your fingers on the screen. So I can zoom out, get a wide shot, or I can zoom in just by pinching on the screen. So that is the basic idea of how it's done. And what I'm going to do now is switch to a point of view from a GoPro, and I'm going to film myself as I do the edit in real time using Viewfinder, and you can see exactly how it's done. And hopefully I can put a little, I can insert a picture-in-picture video to show you what is happening on the screen, but you can also get the full view of me doing the edit using Viewfinder. So that should be coming up next. If all is going according to plan, you can see me on the GoPro standing here with my smartphone, and you should also see a screencast basically of the phone itself, so you can see what's going on here as I now re-edit the same video clip by using a Viewfinder. So we just have to find the same video clip and open it up. It starts to play automatically, as it always does, and then you move back to the very beginning of the file where you want your edit to begin. And now, instead of using keyframes to adjust the perspectives, we are going to physically move the phone around and track myself in real time. It's really kind of a fascinating idea, because it's like I'm going back in time, inserting myself into the moment when I climbed that ladder, and then at that time I'm now aiming the camera in different directions, because I didn't aim the camera when I was there. You know, it's a very, very interesting idea. So you move to the beginning of your file clip, hit the keyframe button, and now instead of changing the perspective manually with a mouse or an S Pen, you select Viewfinder. And now, as I said, there's a big red dot on the screen, and you hold down the red dot when you're ready to start. That's very important, because as soon as you press that red button down, the video starts to play, and everything you see on the screen is going to be recorded. So you have to get things ready to go before you hit that red button. And as I said, you don't hit the button, you actually press it down. And you have to hold the button down the entire time that you're doing this edit. It's very tricky in a way. And one issue I have with Viewfinder, a very large issue, is that you have to move this red button to the left or to the right to zoom in and zoom out. And with my sticky fingers and my thumb on the screen, I find it difficult to do that smoothly. It also takes a certain physical dexterity to hold the button down, move it side to side, and move the phone around. It takes practice to figure out how to do this. So first, what I'm going to do is adjust the perspective that I want. And there it is. I'm looking straight up at myself again, and then my field of view. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So right there, that's my starting point. And now, while I'm holding the phone like this, I press the red button, the video will start to play, and then from that point on, you can't make any mistakes, because it's a clean shot from beginning to end. And if you make a mistake, you have to start all over from the beginning. And yeah, it's kind of an art form. So here we go, holding it up, and now press the red button, and we go. Climbing up the ladder. Now I want to look down at me. So I spin around, and there I am. I hold that view for as long as I want, and I want to zoom in. So I move the red button, I'm zooming in to the narrow field of view. Hold that, and now pull back to ultra wide. Now we're reaching the top, and I want to keep myself in the frame, so I'm lifting the phone up in the air. following myself around as I turn the camera. And ending by looking down the ladder. And that's it. All that work I did with the keyframes, like inserting 20 or 30 keyframes, adjusting each one individually, all of that was just duplicated by me being very goofy, you know, and going like this and then zooming around. And it takes practice. You really have to do it a few times to learn how to do it. To be honest, whatever I did there, I probably wouldn't be happy with it. You kind of have to watch the whole video and create almost a mental image of the shots you want and remember the points when you want to change the perspective and do it smoothly. But it does end up with kind of a natural, intuitive kind of feeling to it because you're doing it in real time, almost like you are your own cameraman and you're following yourself with the camera. You just have to get used to how to do that while looking at the screen of the phone. So yeah, there it is. Oh, and after you're done, you have to click the check mark to save those changes, and then you can zoom back to the beginning, play, and look at what you've done. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Looking up the ladder, starting to climb. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Now spinning around to look down at me. Yeah, that was nice. Now I want to zoom in, and that's the hard thing to do, moving your thumb back and forth while doing all this other stuff. And it's kind of jerky, you know, it's a jerky motion. I wish they had a better system for that. Now I'm zooming back out again, ultra wide, getting to the top of the stairs, and then the camera kind of pulls back and becomes more flat to the ground. And then when the camera spins around and I follow the motion with my phone, now I want to look down the ladder, and you hold the phone like this to look down. Yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly happy with what I did there. But if I wasn't happy with what I did, you just basically go to the beginning and do it again. And like this video clip is, I think, 1 minute, 12 seconds long, something like that. So the entire editing process is the same length as the video clip. So it's a 1 minute clip. So to re-edit it will take me 1 minute. You know, I just do this all over again. You know, lift it up, hit the red button, and I do all these motions for 1 minute. I'm done. If I still didn't get it right, I just do it again. But if you're doing the keyframes, I mean, a full edit can take you, like even a short clip like that, can take you half an hour to complete. And if you want to do it over again, you know, it just ends up being this whole process. But this Viewfinder system, yeah, it's very cool. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and what I wanted to show you. My favorite feature of the Insta360 cameras, Viewfinder.